HCS commentators, analysts, and grassroots content creators, and we have another HCS report where today we're going to be breaking down a little bit of an early Rostermania move that happened, and we gotta talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. We're giving away big money. That's right, $1 to one lucky subscriber who comments down below. Let me know what you think about the roster move and who you think is going to be replacing him. Let's get right into it and let's talk about TSM making a big move. And it seems like they have dropped Cherished. Cherished tweeting out that he was a free agent, an unrestricted free agent at that, so was allowed to go anywhere that he would like, and went to Twitch, or went live on Twitch, and talked about how we felt about the situation. And you know, I always say, you know, whether it's an esports athlete or a professional athlete, when a roster move or something emotional like that drops, I always say stay away from social media and stay away from the camera. Simple as that. Same thing if you're in sports, because he definitely did shed some light on the situation and gave us a few good nuggets and kind of what went down. Talked about like what happened after the Pure move when Last Shot ultimately went over to Shopify Rebellion, and then ultimately decided to bring over Soul Snipe and Mental. Talked a little bit about how the move moving away from Mental to bring along Druck, he felt like he wasn't even involved in the conversation. He felt like the conversations were happening on the outside, and he was notified afterwards, as opposed to being a part of the overall conversation in itself. On top of that, talked about how, like, you know, hey, you know, there was a long running trio with the group. They know each other, they're best friends and whatnot. And sometimes he felt like he was on the outside looking in a bit. With that, felt like a little bit of an outsider. And I know, like, for example, I'll open up about myself. You know, I felt like that as well. Plenty of times in my life and whatnot. I'm a little bit socially awkward and whatnot. Never been a part of the cool kids, and I could definitely relate to sometimes being outside of that deep friend group and whatnot, and wanting to be in. And so he kind of talked a little bit about that and how he felt about the move. There was also other information as well about like how he felt like they found success, you know, running one system or working on one thing in the past, and he felt like they kind of moved away from that, and that kind of led to some of the reasons why they didn't find the success they ultimately were looking for. But nonetheless, you know, free agent right now is Cherished, an amazing player coming over from the Apex community. Damn good, is going to add so much value to any roster that he's a part of. It just won't be alongside TSM anymore. And if you didn't know, TSM had a very, very slow start, but started to show a little bit of light. You know, during the qualifier, they finished top 6, which for them was extremely good. There was a couple of top 12s in there during the open series. So when they hit top 6 during the qualifier, and even some of their scrims were looking decent, we started to see a bit of an upward trend, and they were one of the squads that we thought when getting to LAN would ultimately get a LAN buff. It just sadly didn't happen that way, and once they got to LAN, we saw ultimately a top 12 finish, which is nowhere near what TSM want. You know, think about going into the season. What were your expectations for TSM? Like, we thought they could be competing with FaZe for top 4. So, you know, when you're thinking about a squad that should be competing for top 4, you're thinking top 6, at least top 8. Top 12, and then ultimately losing in pool play to a squad like Zero Tenacity. No disrespect to them whatsoever, but a top 4 team most likely is not losing to Zero Tenacity. And it definitely felt like TSM were going to end up making some type of move, and this one happened to be Cherished being dropped from that roster. So in case you don't know, you still have Druck, Soul Snipe, and Talik, which is still 3/4 of that roster that got 3rd place at Worlds back in season 1. There was a lot of like visa issues with that we heard of with Druck trying to ultimately get to a lot of the American lands, and it definitely plagued them during that season 2. But eventually they got back together. They were doing their thing. It was really fun to watch, and hopefully we see TSM make a big roster move and move in the right direction. I'm gonna bring up the Reddit here and bring up my Reddit here, and we see the post. Let's see. Cherished just posted free agent on his Twitter. Pretty surprised after one event. Who does TSM pick up? Advocacy ? Remember, Advocacy was part of that Luminosity roster that got top 5. Or I was sorry. Excuse me. I apologize. That got the 5th seed, but don't ultimately finish top 16. They had a pretty bad Arlington, but they did have the 5th seed going into Arlington. Just didn't perform that well at Arlington. I'm looking here. So we see people talk about picking up Manny. Manny did mention in Snakebite's chat yesterday that he may be going through some surgery that may sideline him a little bit. He's been having some issues with his tonsils, so he might end up being sidelined for a bit, which is crazy to hear about because Manny and C9 did fantastic. It finished top 6, by the way, and literally with one game away from taking down SSG and making it to the championship Sunday in a top 4 guaranteed spot. Cloud9 were fantastic, which makes me wonder, like, would Manny leave a squad that literally just got top 6 to join TSM? Like, do the pieces add up there? I'm not exactly sure, but a lot of people were saying that they were alluding to ultimately Manny joined that roster. There was a few people that mentioned Collect as well. There was even Barcode thrown around. A lot of names. It's funny because during the Cherished stream, he kept saying that it's obvious who they're going to be picking up. He said he knew who they were going to be picking up, and it was obvious. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, ain't obvious to me. But well, I guess we're going to find out here. Either way, TSM making the first roster move literally just a couple of days after the end of Arlington. And will we see some more roster moves? Because they weren't the only ones that maybe had a bit of a disappointing finish. Even though Complexity did start off Friday, in the right foot, they also finished top 12. Luminosity finished top 16. We could see some movement there. Infamous and Gen G top 8 to me was pretty decent, but you never know when you have a world champion like Lethal on the squad or even Ryan Noob on the squad. Maybe they're not happy with top 8. Maybe we see a bit of a mini Rostermania that starts off with TSM making the first move. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. Like I said, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, interact with the video so it pushes that algorithm to more people who might enjoy some HCS content. And again, we're giving away big money, $1 to one lucky subscriber who comments down below. So until next time, out.